All right, and welcome to Mortgage Talk. Glad to be here with you guys. Thank you guys for being here with me. What a wonderful time to be here on Mortgage Talk. We're streaming, baby. We're streaming nationally throughout the internet. We're streaming worldwide. We're streaming to over 123 countries. Let us come into their neck of the woods to bring you, Mortgage Talk. Now, it wouldn't be possible if we didn't stop off at one of our favorites directories, and we got a lot. Of course, it's speaker.com. That's one, man. We're glad to be part of the family. Thanking you and yours for joining us here on speaker.com. We're also on Blog Talk Radio. Thanking Blog Talk Radio for what they do so well. And also we're on Anchor FM. Thanking Anchor FM for what they do just as well. I'm going to talk about two instruments today that are very important. And then I'm going to conclude the show with talking about a house doctor and how important to have a house doctor. These two instruments that I'm going to be talking about is heavily used and need to be used in today's time since banks are closing or at least tighten up on the loans now, making it difficult for some people to obtain a loan. I want to give you some scenarios of why banks are going in that direction. Not saying that I have all the answers. I don't, but just wanted to just share some of the information with you. You probably can add with what you already know to what I'm about to tell you just as well. I know in certain areas, certain banks do redline, and they do go off the zip code that's in the area. Okay, if it's a predominantly Hispanic area or black area, or if the area is lower in income in that particular area, banks consider it a higher risk, and then they won't loan money in those particular areas. I do know that there are certain people working for banks that do discrimination aspects by turning down a loan. I've seen it where a black person female has gone out and information from a white female, and with the white female being on there, both credit scores were good. However, but the white female made less money, and in that process of the white female making less money, they were able to get the loan, which is kind of crazy. You know, that's kind of weird to know something like that could ever happen. But these things do happen sometimes, and they do happen. But there are several other reasons why banks will turn down loans now. When they run your credit, they're also looking at, that's right, the money fell. They're also looking at the company that you work for. They're looking at the company on the Fortune 500 list and seeing exactly how well that company is doing. You may not know that company is getting ready to file for Chapter 11. Okay. You may not know that your company has been bleeding for the last 2 years in losses, and it's not looking that well. Okay. You may not know this. You may see certain tightening of the boat within the company, but you don't know what's really behind the scene of the company, where banks find that out and then they turn down the loan. You may feel that they turn down the loan maybe because of my skin color, or maybe they turn down the loan because, I had that one blemish on there that I've been rectified a long time ago, over 4 or 5 years ago, and they still turn me down. That's crazy, and that's not necessarily the case. The case is that they did a research on the company that you work for, and they find that the longevity of that company could be coming to a halt. Give you some examples. You know that Toys R Us is shedding its doors nationwide. You also know that Walmart has downsized tremendously nationwide and closing its stores. Sam Club too. You also know that Carson Perry Scott in the Chicago area has done the same thing, downsizing, closing some of its doors. Target has done the same thing too. So see what I'm saying? Banks are looking at all of this, and the door is cracked. It's not wide open anymore. Ain't that something? They asked for a bailout in the Obama administration, and they get it, but then they want to try to close doors on us. That's really interesting. But this is what happened. So it makes trying to get the American dream a little tough for some people. I'm here to tell you that creative financing definitely can work for you, and Also, instruments like what I'm about to talk about, the land contract and also the lease option to own, could be tools that you can utilize to help you get the American dream. In my example today, I'm going to tell you why it's good to go on these lease agreements and land contracts. I'm not going to go off of what internet gives you, which one particular land contract, the land contract is how they look at it. But there are two styles of land contracts, okay, that can be written, and one similar to a lease agreement, okay. I'm going to call it land contract A and land contract B. Basically, they're pretty much the same, except for with B, you're going to gain access on the title because what you're putting down and what you are paying on a monthly scale is going to go toward you building equity into the property. Whereas land contract A, basically, the money that you put down and the money that you're making a monthly payment is going to go toward that down payment or go toward the shortfall of the loan that you won't qualify for, but you gain no equity in that process. In a sense, you don't, but you do, because when the land contract is over and you bring the rest of the money to the table, then what you have paid will give you the equity base into the property. Where in land contract B, it spells it out clearly that you're buying equity into this property at this time, and you've been placed on the title, whereas land contract A, you're not placed on the title. Now that's pretty much the similarity with the lease option, okay? Because with a lease option, you're not put on title. The landlord is responsible for the repairs, for the taxes and the insurance, okay? And even sometimes a water bill, okay? Just like a regular landlord. The lease option works like a traditional lease. Well, it's designed like a traditional lease, except for a traditional lease is good for 12 months or even month to month under residential. Now, even in certain cases under residential, depending on a high end property, maybe on a property downtown, a penthouse, you may find that the lease terms is a little longer than 12 months. Even on a luxury condo, a high-end luxury condo, you may find that the term may be a little longer, okay? Again, you're dealing with high professional people that are making large sums of money, and so they're going to gain a little bit more optional points than everyday Joe Smoke like me and you, okay? Okay, we're going to be on a lease for 12 months, all right? So on the lease option agreement, it can go for 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, even up to 5 years. I haven't actually seen them on 5. Usually if it goes to 5 years, it's because you got an extension and enrolled to that particular point, but it can go up to 5 years. I just haven't seen one actually being written for 5 years, but not saying that it can't be done, okay? The lease option gives you, the buyer, an option to opt out. You can opt out of that contract, but understand something. Like with any contract, there is a penalty clause there. There is a loss factor that you're going to take. So there's no opt out and you walk away. Hey, give me back my money. I'm gone. It's not going to happen. You're going to lose your original down and lose the money that you've already paid into the property, unless so stipulated differently in the clause in the lease option or even an addendum in the lease option that protect your interests. That's why these clauses are so important, okay? Even in a lease agreement that is similar to the land contract, all right? And I'm talking about the clauses in just a bit, okay? When you are looking at the lease option and a land contract, those are just some of the similarities and those are just some of the difference in them, okay? In a land contract, unless so stipulated, the buyer is not responsible for the taxes and insurance anyway. It may be incorporated in the payment, in the total payment, but the buyer is really not obligatedly responsible. So therefore, the buyer doesn't get any tax advantages of that. If it's in the land contract B, whereas he is put on title, then on title, you got to talk to a tax accounting. He should be able to write off a percentage of depreciation value along with other options that a tax accounting can go over with you. You certainly can negotiate in that process and even share in on some of the expense, since you actually are buying in a partnership in sort of a way in that contract. Okay, so that can happen. It all depends on what you negotiate in that contract. That's why it's so important to understand clauses, that certain clauses can be in a contract. Now, you can go online and download a land contract, and you can download a lease option contract. What I recommend you to do, because there's a lot of misleading information out there that can confuse people and mislead them. Hopefully, we can straighten out some of that today. But I recommend you to go to one of the greatest information center in the world, which is a library, and you can learn and see what a lease option agreement is, standard, and some of the few limited clauses is there. And you can also see a land contract and see some of the clauses there, and then read upon the other clauses that can be added into the land contract. You can draw your own land contract. You don't have to just go with the standard issue out contract. You could also consult a real estate attorney that can draw you up a land contract that will be favorable in your interest, and even give the seller some interesting points of favorability for him too, or her too, just as well. Okay. You also can talk to a professional mortgage broker like myself, or even talk to a realtor that can assist in those manners just as well. So seek out professional people. Naturally, I recommend real estate attorney first if you can afford to do that. Not everybody can. Okay. Now, those are just some of the small similarity difference between the lease agreement and a land contract. Let me just go into some of the body contents of it. Okay. A lease sale contract arrangement. The deal is structured so that the buyer has the option of buying the property at a predetermined price at a predetermined period when he can exercise that contract. On a land contract, the buyer purchased the property with a balloon payment due to the seller at the end of the contract. Now, I disagree with that. That's not necessarily true. There's rarely balloon payments in land contracts. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot have a balloon payment in a land contract. Why would you? I wouldn't. But I don't understand why that's there. That could be confusing to people who are not accustomed to writing or seeing land contracts. Not all land contracts are like that. Very, very few, by the way. I can see why it can come about, but it doesn't give that explanation to that point. So that can leave confusion to people who are new to the business or new to walking into a land contract. Let me give you some examples of why. Okay. If a person goes now and they find out that they will qualify for this house is at $100,000. Okay. I'm just going to keep the figures real simple and easy. And they find out that they'll get an LTV, loan to value, for $80,000. That's it. That's what they're going to get based off their income. They have a shortfall of $20,000 plus closing costs. Closing costs, we'll say, will be configured up into the terms of $5,000. Okay. I'm just using this just as an example, so don't panic. So now they have $25,000 at a shortfall. So they enter into this land contract, and on this land contract, they're able to cover the $25,000 in that land contract. But they signed for a 3-year land contract, and based on what they can give over, let's say that they pay $1,500, and $500 of that is going to be applied toward the purchasing of the land contract, or the purchasing of the property. That's going to incur the shortfall. Remember that they have a shortfall of $25,000.